Any attempt at a veil of secrecy over Royal Enfield's new Scram 411 disappeared months ago as rumors and spy pictures flooded the internet, but now it's been officially unveiled and promises to be an intriguing all-purpose machine for riders more concerned with rugged utility than performance. Heavily based on the existing Himalayan, borrowing the same frame, engine, suspension and even the fuel tank, the Scram has a more road-oriented style and design focus thanks to a smaller front wheel and shorter wheelbase, which along with reduced weight, should make it a wieldier proposition than the Himalayan, without sacrificing too much of that machine's off-road ability. As you'd expect from a Royal Enfield, it's still a bare-bones model, refreshingly free of electronic complications, rider settings and digital nannies, and although it's still a few months from the market, the price is sure to be competitive. Performance isn't the Scram 411's target, and that means you get 24 horsepower to play with, peaking at 6,500 RPM. That comes on the back of 23.6 pounds-foot of torque reached at 4,250 RPM. In a world of 200 horsepower superbikes, those numbers feel very small, but they'll be enough to get the Scram past the national speed limit on motorways, even if three-figure speeds might be out of reach. The Scram's 411cc engine is straight from the Himalayan. That means it's a single overhead cam, two-valve air-cooled single-cylinder design with an under 78mm bore and 86mm stroke that targets a wide spread of torque rather than squeezing out every last drop of power. It's a basic design, but at least there's an electric starter. It's bolted to a gearbox that make do with 5 ratios rather than the more common 6, but if you're prepared to embrace the simplicity as a virtue rather than a drawback, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The exhaust is also directly from the Himalayan, which was updated last year to meet Euro 5 emissions limits. Don't go looking for high-specification parts in the suspension. The Scram's 41mm right-way up forks are like those of the Himalayan, albeit with slightly less travel at 190mm instead of 200mm. That's still far more than the average bike can offer, though, and should imbue the Scram with some genuine off-road ability. At the back there's a non-adjustable Monoshock with 180mm of wheel travel, just like the Himalayan. The big change to the chassis, designed by Harris Performance, by the way, is the switch from a 21-inch front wheel to a 19-inch rim. Along with the shorter fork, that drops the Scram's front end, sharpening the steering compared to the Himalayan, while simultaneously chopping 10mm from the wheelbase, which comes down from 1,465mm to 1,455mm. The more impressive cut comes in the weight, which is slashed from the Himalayan's 199 kg to 185 kg. Those numbers aren't necessarily comparable, though the Himalayan's 199 kg is measured in running order, suggesting a tank of fuel, while the Scram's is without petrol. Filling the 15-liter tank will add around 11 kg in petrol, pushing the Scram to 196 kg in fully fueled form. But the 795mm seat height, the Scram sits 5mm lower than the Himalayan, making it a fraction more accessible to those with shorter legs, and the bars are lowered to make for a less parachute-like riding position that may turn out to be more comfortable on longer runs. With fuel economy of around 89 miles per gallon, the 15-liter fuel tank should theoretically give a range of around 290 miles between fills. The brakes, like the rest of the bike, are basic and borrowed straight from the Himalayan, with a 300mm front disc and 2-piston caliper aided by a single-pot rear caliper and 240mm disc. There's dual-channel ABS, of course, to meet legal requirements, but that's the extent of the assistance. Apart from the aforementioned ABS, rider aids are at an absolute minimum here, so there's a refreshing shortage of acronyms and initialisms. On board you're greeted by a simple analog speedo wrapped around a small digital central screen that offers a trip meter, clock, fuel gauge and service reminder. Well to the right, there's the same tripper turn-by-turn navigation system that features on other remodels. Royal Enfield won't be announcing the Scram 411's price until mid-April, so we're left guessing on how much you'll part with to get one. But since the Himalayan it's based on starts at £4,699, it's safe to assume the Scram won't be too far from that figure. There will be two price levels, with cheaper variants coming in a choice of red, blue or yellow, each with a graphite fuel tank, and more expensive ones coming in two-tone white and red or silver and grey. The bikes are due in dealers in May.